me explain air gap for a second, because that's a question that comes up in my world, and it may be more specific to us as a installer, as a creator of systems, than it is necessarily to the normal person. In fact, the word air gap hasn't been something that everybody's been using. It's kind of a surprise term, even in the technician area, because what it means is when you're working with systems on premise in a local private environment, a lot of times those systems aren't connected to the internet. They're basically off grid. They're disconnected. That's the nature of air gap. There's a gap between the internet, in this case, and the private network. And the reason they do that is for security. Obviously, you hear about all the problems that are going on with security now, and people breaching and getting into those systems. And in an environment where you have millions of dollars of equipment and a lot of millions and millions of dollars of IP, proprietary, big movies, programs that haven't been released yet, even programs that are out, they can't have anybody tapping into that stuff that they don't want. So they literally just sever the line to the outside world. And the problem with that is, as a manager of systems and trying to keep track of our clients' data and make sure that everything's running correctly, and basically being a managed service for them, if we can't connect up to the systems from the outside world, we get in trouble. So that air gap creates a real problem for us to remotely monitor the situation. So we're working on better ways to manage that without being connected remotely all the time. There's also a liability issue, big liability issue, because if we're dealing with a large, and what most of our clients are larger, when we're dealing with a large client, the liability from our side, if we're caught and we've created a problem for them where they've been breached, we never want to be in that position ever. So we want to monitor, but we also want to be able to have them engaged when we're monitoring. So that means we still have to be notified. So let's say, and I can give you multiple stories that have happened in my world over and over again, stories that you wouldn't believe about. I've got the same stories that a lot of people have, but I have my own versions that were real to my world. And especially on Easter weekends and holidays where everybody's gone from the studio a lot, and all of a sudden they decided to turn the power off, or whatever, or the power goes out for the neighborhood, especially in Hollywood or Florida or whatever, where they have all kinds of power problems. And then all the servers go off. The power goes off for a couple hours, and the UPSs they stop. The battery backups don't last that long. They last 45 minutes, whatever. And then when the servers kick back on, they might kick on very hard. It's a hard boot. They get crash, power comes back up. It might come up intermittently for a moment, and then it finally comes up. And in that process, the power supplies get hurt. The systems get hurt. The servers don't all come back up. Well, we want to know that. And a lot of times the client doesn't even know that's happened because they're not watching either. They're on vacation. They're out. So that's where this air gap problem gets to be a problem, because if we're not connected to those systems, we don't get notified. So our answer is to put local server that's monitoring and then have it notify us by its own separate connection where it's not really tapped directly in. And we're still working on the best way to do that.